Hello world, good morning, namaste and Nisam Bulavinaka from Sydney, Australia. I am Sashi Singh, the host of Sashi Singh's Talking Point. Welcome to your favorite Sunday program, SSTP. Well, Fiji, tonight at midnight, the election blackout period starts. This means that all campaigning comes to a halt, all political messages stops, and there can be no advertisements broadcast about elections, and political party advertisements also stop. This rule applies to Fiji. There are just 3 more sleeps before its election day on Wednesday, 14th December. And as Fiji goes to the polls, remember, Fiji, your vote has power. Exercise your right to vote. Just before we begin episode 48 of SSTP, I have an important announcement to share with our viewers. Sashi Singh's Talking Point, SSTP recognizes that questioning, constructive arguments, and opinions are part of conversation, but posts with aggressive personal attacks, profanity, name-calling, swearing, defamatory in nature and/or threatening will be removed immediately, and offenders will be blocked from being a part of the SSTP program. Let's observe these rules and enjoy the program. Let me tell you what is in today's program. Today, in episode 48 of SSTP, we meet the leaders of the 5 political parties fighting in the 2022 election, namely Unity Fiji Party, Fiji Labour Party, SODELPA, National Federation Party, and the People's Alliance Party. So without further ado, let us meet our chief guests for this afternoon. First, it's my pleasure to welcome on SSTP the leader of the Unity Fiji Party, Mr. Savanatha Narumbe, candidate number 342. Good afternoon, and Nisam Bulavinaka, Mr. Narumbe. Welcome back to SSTP.
Bulavinaka, Sashi. Good to be back.
Thank you, sir. And how are you feeling this afternoon?
A bit tired after all this running around on the campaign trail, but otherwise, I'm good. Thank you.
You're just near the finishing tape as far as the campaign is concerned. You'll get through the day, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. Let me please introduce my next guest on today's panel. Now it is my pleasure to welcome the leader of the Fiji Labour Party, former Prime Minister of Fiji, and candidate number 385. Please welcome Mr. Mahendra Chaudhry. Good afternoon, and namaste, Mr. Chaudhry.
Good afternoon, Shashi, and namaste.
Welcome. Thank you
very much for giving me another opportunity.
You're welcome, sir. You're welcome. Welcome to SSTP once more. How are you feeling today, just as you're about to finish the campaign?
I'm feeling all right. I just got back from the West last night, but I'm charged up again, and I'm looking forward to this Wednesday.
Wonderful.
Wednesday voting day, yes.
All right. Well, wonderful. We'll be back with you in just a moment. Joining us on the panel now is the leader of Fiji's oldest political party, the National Federation Party. It is my pleasure to welcome Professor Biman Prasad, candidate number 427 to SSTP. Good afternoon and namaste to you as well, Professor Prasad. Welcome to SSTP.
Good afternoon, Sashi, and good afternoon to all the other leaders as well. And good afternoon to all our people viewing this program. Thank you.
Wonderful to have you. I'll be back with you in just a moment, sir. And welcoming the leader of the People's Alliance Party, former Prime Minister of Fiji, candidate number 480, Mr. Sitiveni Rambuka. Mr. Rambuka, welcome to SSTP, sir. Good afternoon to you. Nisam Bulavinaka.
Sashi, Bulavinaka leaders, great to be back. And yes, Durandale has said, it's been
We
tiring,
have
but we are all well rested
connection problem.
ready for the blackout period, and then be there at the ballot box.
Indeed.
I can't
All
hear.
right. Leaders, actually, if I may say something, when one leader is speaking, if you could please not speak while that leader is speaking, because otherwise I'll have to individually try to mute all of you, and I really don't want to do that. Mr. Chaudhry, if I could have your attention, sir. Now, at this juncture, I would have introduced Mr. Bill Darvoka of Sodelpa, but whilst he had confirmed his appearance today by an earlier email today, I still do not have Mr. Darvoka on screen. So we'll continue the program, and if Mr. Darvoka does join in, we'll include him in the panel. Well, gentlemen, let me tell you the format for today's program. It'll be, I'll begin by asking our panel some questions to start off with. Well, Mr. Darvoka has just joined us. If you can just bear with me, let me see if I can bring him on screen as well. Bill, are you there, sir? Good afternoon, Mr. Bill Darvoka. Welcome to SSTP.
Are you putting that on?
Good afternoon, Sasi.
Yeah,
Good afternoon. Am I coming through okay?
Your sound is clear, but you're too far. Can you come a bit closer, please, to the screen? Can you pull your laptop closer to you?
Okay.
Yeah, don't worry about your banner.
Okay, is that okay, Sashi?
Much better now. Thank you very much. Welcome to SSTP. Nice to have you along.
Yes. Hello, Sashi.
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear. All right. Well, as I was saying, gentlemen, the format for today's program will be as follows. I will begin by asking our panel some questions to start off with. When I have done my rounds of questions, I shall invite each leader to give their address to the nation in English. Once we have finished listening to the 5 leaders' address in the English language, I will then invite each leader to speak in the vernacular, that is either in Itoke or Hindi or both. At the end of that, SSTP will deliver its final statements to you, our leaders. So let me begin. My first question to begin round 1 is with Mr. Narumbe. It has been a very long campaign, which started in April this year. How would you describe the campaign experience so for the Unity Fiji Party?
Thank you, Shashi. Yeah, you are right. It's the longest ever campaign, I think, in the political history of this country. We have been on the road, I think, for over a year. And it's been very challenging. I think the greatest challenge is the environment around this campaign. The laws and the selective application of the laws. I think that has been very frustrating. The climate of fear that we face in this campaign period. The lack of independence of the supervisor of election is quite glaring. And the vote buying of government, which are still in government and buying votes weeks before the election. The other challenge that we face is finance, but we have persevered. We have held over 3,000 meetings across Fiji, distributed about 70,000 flyers. So we have held rallies in almost all towns. So our support, I think, is overwhelming. It's increasing. I think our attractiveness there is the new solutions that goes to the hearts of many of our problems, particularly like poverty. And we think we should raise issues that have been buried deep under the carpet. And that's something that the voters have responded to. So our support is broad-based across all communities, but predominantly will be the Itoke. Thank you, Shashi.
Savinaka, Mr. Narumbe. Mr. Chaudhry, the Fiji Labour Party's strategy, it seems, was to have several pocket meetings around the country. You have also spent time in the Northern Division. How would you describe the Fiji Labour Party's campaign experience this time around?
Well, we've campaigned in our usual way, making direct contacts with the people through pocket meetings, through our flyers, and of course, once the numbers were out, our flyers, and before that, by giving out our manifesto, so that people got an understanding of what we were going to do if we were elected into office. Now, of course, the experience has been marred by the lack of independence.
What you say?
Sorry, sir. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, as I said, the campaign has been marred by lack of independence of the elections office, which harassed us to some extent, and other opposition parties as well, asking us to explain certain things on receiving complaints from the Fiji First Party to distract. The whole purpose of that was to distract attention away from our campaign and engage in this actually futile complaints that were filed by the party. So these were some of the issues that we faced, but we've overcome all that, and we focused on the campaign. And I have some more to say on that, but I suppose these will come on later questions when you put us when you go through the rest of the questions that you have.
Thank you indeed, Mr. Chaudhry. Now, Mr. Ngavoka, the same question goes to you. Insofar as SODELPA is concerned, what has the campaign experience been like? Mr. Ngavoka, can you hear us?
He's muted.
Yeah. All right. Now, yeah, I can see he's muted. Mr. Ngavoka, if you can hear us, your mic is muted. If you could unmute your mic, please. Bill, if you can hear me, Mr. Ngavoka, can you please unmute your mic? All right. Well, we'll wait for Mr. Ngavoka. Perhaps I can move on, because I know all the leaders have a very, very busy day ahead of them today. So I'm going to move on. Now, Professor Biman Prasad, the National Federation Party, sir, has also traveled around the country, and you have had joint rallies with the People's Alliance. Now, how would you describe the campaign experience for your party?
Thank you, Sashi. Before I answer that, if I could ask all the other leaders, when one of us is speaking, if you can mute so that we can hear you properly. I think that will improve the system. So if you can mute when I'm speaking, then you can hear me properly. There will be no interference. But Sashi, just to answer your question, the first thing, the people have been great. The people have been out there supporting us, coming to our meetings. But let me say that Frank and Ayaz have been shocking. Basically, they just want to abuse us, attack us. Yesterday, Ayaz called me Rambuka's water boy. And they're pretty shallow, and they will not focus on any issues because they know that they can't talk about the disaster that they have created. So either they think they're better than us or that they don't want to talk to us. So they talk about accountability and transparency, and look at your show. You've been inviting them. Fiji Village has been inviting them. They don't care to front up to answer the questions. So our experience with the people have been great. I mean, our joint rallies have been extremely successful. We had one last night in Rishikul. I just came out of one at Bunumono. And so our experience with the people is great. Of course, as Mr. Chaudhary said, the experience with the stupid laws that govern the elections and everything else is another issue. But let me just say, experience with the people is great. People have understood. People want to change, and they are supporting us in a big way. So that's the experience that I've had so far.
Thank you very much indeed. We have Mr. Ngavoka back with us. Let's see if you can hear us now, Mr. Ngavoka. The same question goes to you. Insofar as SODELPA is concerned, what was the campaign experience like for you?
Oh, thank you, Sashi. I'm sorry, our connectivity was a little strained in there, but I've relocated and we should be okay now. Sashi, it's been quite a ride. I mean, it happened, it started in April 26, and of course, the element of uncertainty was always there until we got the guidelines about the manifesto and all that. But we quickly adapted to it and strategized and decided to work with our policies in a very clear and specific manner, and circulated through our flyers. And it has worked very well, Shashi. I have a team of 54. And as we speak, about 300,000 of those flyers have been circulated. And you can safely assume today that the entire country is aware of what SODELPA's policies are for this election. And it's been very, very satisfying. The rules were very difficult, but in SODELPA, we're mostly rugby players and netball players. We don't argue with the ref. We get on with the game. Sashi?
All right. Thank you very much for that. And the People's Alliance, of course, is the new party on the block. And as I just said a little while ago, they've had political rallies with the National Federation Party. Now, Mr. Rambuka, how would you describe your campaign experience?
Sashi, am I coming across okay?
Yeah, Bill, if you can just hold on, we'll come back with the next question for you. Now it's Mr. Rambuka's turn. You've come across. We can hear you loud and clear. Thank you. Sorry, Mr. Rambuka, I'll just repeat that. As I said, you've been having political rallies together with the National Federation Party. How would you describe your campaign experience like, sir?
Good afternoon, leaders. Good to see us all here together. Glaringly incomplete with one party not represented here. But to come back to your question, Sashi, it has been a very high pressure campaign period. And as the leader of the Unity Fiji Party has mentioned, it has been conducted under very trying conditions. We have had to go with our law books all the time, study what it has to say, particularly the legislations governing the elections. We have constantly had to refer to those as we venture into areas and make announcements and publish our own statements and leaflets and so on. And it is a very difficult environment to conduct a campaign in, particularly for us, not in government. And I do not know whether our colleague, the leader of the SODELPA, has any direct contact in his office, in Parliament, with the government, particularly the Supervisor of Elections Office. But we, on our own, in the wilderness, trying to get our flyers and banners out, making sure that where we want to put the banners up are allowed by the laws and allowed by the Electoral Act and its other regulations. So it has been difficult. But the people, as Professor Biman had said, have been great. They have received us regardless of their political affiliation. And that is the environment of Fiji campaign. They will come. They're not necessarily your voters. They will come, so you have to be wary of what you say to them. And keep your messages positive. That's what we have tried to do. We have failed in some instances, but I believe on the whole, the People's Alliance campaign has been conducted in a very civilized manner. Vinaka.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Rambuka. And let me now begin the round 2 of questions. We'll start off with Mr. Narumbe again. Mr. Narumbe, what has been the highs and lows that you have encountered in the campaign? For instance, has the loss of your proposed candidate, Mick Beddoes, has that been a big blow for the party? You're muted, sir. If you could unmute your speaker. Thank you very much.
Yeah, there's been highs and lows in our campaign. One of the low is what you have mentioned, the candidacy of Mr. Mick Beddoes. We were saddened to lose him in the lineup, but he still remains very active in the social media supporting the party. So that has lessened the impact of the loss of Mick Beddoes. We have also faced challenges, as I mentioned early on finance. I think that's probably common as well to many parties. We had to campaign smartly, and that's a big help. We have our candidates that we announced much earlier than what we did in 2018, and that has been a great help as well. I think overall, I think this campaign will be defined by what we, Unity Fiji, proposes to the country. And to us, the high has been a manifesto that we had released about 6 weeks ago that is, in our view, comprehensive, fully address the priorities of this country, and it's been fully costed. So those are some of the highs and lows in our campaign.
Naka, thank you very much, sir. Mr. Chaudhry, what would you say has been the highs and lows that you have encountered on the campaign trail? For instance, was the attack on one of your candidates who happens to be a Bhajaniya one of the lows of the campaign for you?
Well, I think we turned that around, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to say that I was shocked at the extent to which some political leaders resorted to maligning other leaders. The mudslinging that took place, and even more shockingly, the outright lies that they uttered on several issues. You're, of course, aware as we're talking about the Bhajaniya issue. And this was an insult hurled at one of our candidates, who actually is a graduate, a well-read, and a professional. And I do not know what made Mr. Syed Qayyum say that, but it certainly was an insult which we view as an indirect insult to the entire Hindu community. And we have responded to that. But these are the sort of things that should be avoided. We feel that campaigning should be done on issues and not on personalities, not on lies, and not on misrepresentations. The highs of our campaign were that people recall the days of Labour government of 19. They did say that they were very happy with that government, that the cost of living had come down by the government removing VAT on basic food items, and the other social measures which the government took to bring down the cost of living. One of them was the slashing of the interest rates on housing loans for low and middle income earners from 11% housing authority rates to 6%. It was a promise that we made, and when we carried that out. And generally, they felt that the government was doing very well. So that was a very pleasant experience, a high in our campaign that they did recall. And some said that we want that kind of government back in office. So it was good to see our followers who had left us coming back to the party. And we hope to do well in this election with our supporters coming back.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Chaudhry. Now, question to you, Mr. Ngawalka. This has been a long election campaign. As you said a short while ago, started on the 26th of April. Now, what would you say were the highs and lows of the SODELPA campaign? Was the defection of some of your party members a low point for you? Mr. Ngawalka, can you hear us? Did you hear that question, sir? You've muted yourself again. Can you unmute your speaker, please? You're on mute. Hang on, Bill. Don't. I'm signaling to you to stop. You've muted yourself. If you can hear me, just give me a thumbs up, at least if you can hear me. Can you unmute your speaker, please, so we can hear you, your mic? Unmute yourself. It's not on my end, it's on your end, so you've muted yourself. All right, well, we'll leave him there. Let's continue because obviously he's having some problems. I'll come to you now, Professor Prasad. Let me ask you the same question. What would you say were the highs and low points of your campaign? Would you say that perhaps the loss of Richard Naidu as one of your prospective candidates was a big blow to your party? You're muted as well. Can you please unmute yourself, Professor Prasad? You got to unmute yourself so we can hear you. Yep. All right, it's on your side. You need to unmute yourself.
Sorry, Sashi, I had some issues this side. Well, again, the highs are essentially meeting the people. The people have been great. And one of the best things for us in this election as a party is that the people are telling us, they've seen us performing in parliament. They know how we have articulated issues. In fact, we have taken the government on a number of issues in parliament. We've offered alternative policies. And I think we're getting that feedback, and the mood for change is obvious. And the other high, of course, is the people are telling us that they are quite happy with the partnership that we have formed with the People's Alliance Party. They like unity. They like people getting together. And if you look at our rallies, the diversity of the people who come in, work together, eat together, discuss things together, that's been a very, very good feeling for us, and probably one of the highlights of our campaign so far. But the lows have been these gutter level personal attacks by Frank and Ayaz. This attack on the Bhajanias. We have two Bhajaniyas in our party. One of them is known as the king of Bhajaniyas, Shiv Dayal, a professional, a school teacher. And obviously, that's been an insult, direct attack and insult to Bhajaniyas and all those, who believe what Bhajaniyas do within the Hindu religion. Apart from that, you see Frank and Ayaz are not talking about policies. They're not talking about the disastrous health services. They're not talking about the disastrous economy. They're not talking about what's happening in the education sector. They're not talking about the disaster that they've created in the sugar industry. So what they do is resort to personal attacks, gutter level politics, aided and abetted by pro-government media organizations and their supporters. And that's all they do. And so we expect between now and the election, especially in the blackout period, and I want to warn our people, because they did that in the last election. You remember, Shashi, that there was this fake news about Rambuka taking away Diwali if he wins the government last time. And there are other fake news. And so these are lies being generated to scare voters, to divert the attention from the mess that this two-man rule has created in this country. So that's the low side of the campaign that we see coming out, everywhere. But people are smarter than what Frank and Ayaz think about them. People are not fools. And that makes us feel really happy and good about the way in which people are coming out. And the mood we see is obviously one of change, and that's what's going to happen after Wednesday.
Thank you very much, Professor Prasad. Leaders, if I may perhaps ask you all to unmute your microphones. I see you're all listening very intently. No one is talking, which is good. So that way, perhaps we will not get into that trap of trying to ask you to unmute and mute yourselves. I'll continue. Mr. Ngavoka is missing from the panel right now, but the show must go on, keeping in mind the strict time constraints we have. Mr. Rambuka, the same question to you. How would you, what would you say were the highs and lows of your campaign? Now, one notable observation is that it seems that the People's Alliance came into particular attention from FICA. How would you describe your highs and lows, sir?
Vinakasashi, our highs, as Biman has, Professor Prasad has said, has been the reception we have received from the people that we have visited and addressed. I will not call those frequent calls from FICAC as lows. They are part of the obstacles on the way of our progress towards elections. That's why I mentioned very earlier on that we had to be aware that we have a hostile environment to operate in. So we expect minefields, we expect snipers, we expect artillery, we expect bombardment as we go along. We just have to be very sure that we have our defenses up as we go. And wherever we have had minefields cleared, we will go along those ways. And when we have done that up to yesterday, we have felt that The snipers were still there, but we knew where they were coming from and what they were aiming at. So we had to be pretty clean as we went along.
Nicely said. Now to begin round 3 of the questions, we will again begin with Mr. Narumbe. Now, if you can unmute your mic, sir, while I'm asking you the question, thank you. There have been speculations for such a long time about the role of the RFMF in Fijian politics. They have been behind some of the coups in the country. What did you make of the speech delivered at the commander's end of the year parade by the Army Commander, Major General Rocho Nikoloni Wai, who stressed to members of the Republic of Fiji military forces that whatever the outcome of the 2022 general elections, it is time for them to honor the democratic process by respecting the outcome of the votes. What did you make of that, sir?
Thank you. I think that was an excellent statement. We did put out a press release thanking the commander for his vision for democracy, peace, and stability in this country. He came in at the right time. I think most of us were comforted by his statement that democracy will prevail. It's been a while since a military leader, commander, has mentioned that in Fiji. I think it blunts all the other things that this government is trying to do, which they have threatened bloodshed and instability in this country. And it's their tactic of fear that will drive voters towards them, that they are the only custodian of peace and stability. That is not correct. So the impartial stance by the military now will just remove this government position from this election. So I fully support that. And I think that paves the way for voters to vote freely for a leader that they can trust. Thank you.
Savinaka, Mr. Chaudhry, the army commander told the soldiers that they must keep in perspective their constitutional mandate that regardless of the outcome, democracy is alive and God is our sovereign. You were deposed in a military coup. What do you make of the army commander's speech to his troops?
Well, we issued a statement welcoming the commander's statement. That was kind of a reassurance to the people that irrespective of what other people say, the results of the elections will be respected. Now, similar promises were made in the past, but were not adhered to, as you know. Mm-hmm. This time around, we hope that the reassurance that the commander has given will be fully implemented. People do talk about coups, and I myself have said that every coup that we've had has put us back 10 years. And when you take into account 4 coups, it means we are behind by 40 years. We're just catching up. And that is the reason why the country is in such a mess today. So it is an issue, but I think we've got to put that behind us and we've got to focus on the future. And so it's good that it is coming at the right time, because the Fiji Fest is campaigning on the basis of, if we are not there, you're not secure. That is their campaign. They did it in 2014, they did it in 2018. And it instills not a little, but it instills fear in the minds of people who have suffered as a result of these coups. So yes, we welcome this statement, and let's move forward and concentrate on the elections on that basis.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Chaudhry. Now, unfortunately, Mr. Ngavoka has dropped out. Mr. Ngavoka, if you are listening to this program, please log back in again, because I do have some very important questions for you. I'll keep moving. And now that same question to Professor Biman Prasad. You have come out very strongly in your election campaign. You have time and again reminded the people not to have fear. When you listened to that speech delivered by the Army commander, how did it make you feel and what did you make of that speech, sir?
Well, I think, as stated by Mr. Narube and Mr. Chaudhary both, that indeed is a very welcome statement, and perhaps an obvious statement, which should be made all the time, that by every independent institution in the country, that democracy in the first instance is about accepting the outcome of a free and fair election. And so that is a very, very significant statement, because we have a history of military intervention. But more importantly, in this election, when people have seen the kind of fear that Frank and Ayaz have created in the last two elections about them being the only two men who can provide security and safety and stability to this country, because the perception amongst the people, especially the Indo-Fijian community in the last two elections, was that somehow, Frank Bainimarama is going to use the military, to do something. And they spread rumors in the last two elections that, if Frank doesn't win, Bainimarama doesn't win, then something's going to happen. I remember in 2018, 2 or 3 days before the election, there were people going into markets and supermarkets and spreading this rumor. And we were told, I was told by my sister in Lambasa, in Lambasa market 3 days before the election, that, people should buy grocery and, make sure that, things are secured, because if Bainimarama loses on Wednesday, something is going to happen. So those kind of rumors, those kind of fear was being spread, especially amongst the Indo-Fijian community. So I think the assurance and the statement from the commander is very welcome. I think it's very timely, and one that I think all leaders in the opposition welcomed and should welcome. But we have to understand that as leaders, we must never accept or be part of any attempt to subvert democracy in any form, anywhere, at any time. And I think that statement is a very welcome one.
Thank you indeed, Professor Prasad. Mr. Rambuka, you have been a former Army commander, and in 1987, you led your troops in Fiji's first military coup. You have time and again repented for your past actions 35 years ago. You've shown remorse for your deeds. And as a former commander and a current leader of a political party, how did you receive that speech by the Army commander? And most importantly, should the public believe the Army commander?
Thank you, Sashi. First of all, we have to correct the thinking that in 1987, the Army commander committed that was part of that coup. Rotipelina Litkau was not part of that coup. He was a commander. He made the same sort of announcement, address that Commander General Kalonwai has made. The same announcement or same address was given to us in 1977 by the then Commander, General Paul Manueli. So the commanders then in 77 and 87 were not involved, in fact had advised some members of the military to honor the result of the elections. In 1987, the commander had given that assurance or that statement to a group on parade. He was not addressing the whole officer corps as Manueli had done in 1977. So we were all bound by his address as our commander. And in the recent address by General Kalonwai, It was at the end of year function, and it would be advisable if he had his own officer corps assembled for him to give them that advice as their commander. The members of the regular force, the territorial force, and all officers on the reserve and special reserve, they must understand that that is the position of the Commander, Republic of Fiji military forces, so that no one would do what I did in 1987 as a subordinate officer of Ratu Epeli Nelitkau did what I did. But for for General Kalonwai to come out and say that, it's very reassuring for the political leaders of the country, particularly those of us on the opposition side. Well, although we're not in opposition as far as Parliament is concerned, we are independent of the government. We are independent of the political party that is in control. And in fact, we oppose them and we want to dislodge them. So for us, it is an assuring statement, and I only hope that the Commissioner of Police would have reiterated that to his ranks and files, that they will support and they will honor the people's views, the people's will as expressed in the ballot box. Vinaka.
I thank you for your correction. I stood to be corrected there, and you did correct me, and I appreciate that very much. I was going to ask Mr. Ngavoka a question, and I'll address that to you, Mr. Rambuka, if I can. Now, Sodelpa lodged a formal complaint to the Elections Office about your party, the People's Alliance, for allegedly failing to cost some of its election promises, including the re-establishment of the Great Council of Chiefs, and that too just before the election. Now, one would imagine that it would be the incumbent government that would lodge a complaint. What did you make of an opposition party's complaint against your party?
Thank you, Sashi. I was taken by surprise that we were attacked by one of our co-opposition parties. We have to respect their right as an independent political party, and we have to answer the questions posed to us by the supervisor of elections. That is the right way to handle that. We would never have questioned the manifesto, or I would not have questioned the manifesto or any of the methodologies applied by my brother leaders who are here with us on this panel. It is for the government of the day to question whether any of us has contravened the legislation and regulations they have put in place. It was unfortunate for us. It hurt us. We are all former members of that party. And you know, you asked about defection. You asked him about defections from his party. Every party, every new party is made up of defectors from existing parties, apart from the new voters who joined that party fresh off the farm, so to speak. Otherwise, we all have defected or just decided to move on from the parties we belonged to in the past.
Well answered. Would any of the other leaders want to add to that question that I asked about the complaint lodged by Sodelpa? Did it take you by surprise at all? Would anybody else like to have any comments on that? You'll need to unmute.
Yeah. Yeah, I just wanted to add that the law itself is a really stupid law. Should have never been, brought together. We rigorously opposed it in Parliament because we don't have an independent budget office like some other countries do. We don't even know who decides, that you are not costing. We don't even know who to write to explain if you're doing your manifesto. So the law in the first place is stupid law. Political parties have the right to do the manifesto, offer the policies. It's up to the people to decide. It's not for somebody in government, who is a ruling party. We don't even know who to write to and explain to them, okay, this is how we're going to fund. And more importantly, you can't believe anything that comes out of his government. They provided a fiscal supplement, 6 months ago. Then you had the budget. And even if you are basing anything on their budget figures, their revenue figures and their projections for later years, it is all ridiculous. So the law itself is stupid. And, if some opposition party leaders think that, complaining, about this law against the other opposition parties, is laughable, because, we should all be condemning that law. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Narumbe, would you like to add to that, sir?
Just weigh in very quickly on that. The law is there. We need to abide by the law. Even though we fought the law, that amendment, myself and the Labour Party in court, we lost it. So the law is there. So we have to comply with that law. And we in Unity Fiji have fully complied with the law in our manifesto. But we noted that others may not. But we chose not to challenge them with the FICAC or SOE. Unity Fiji complies fully with that law. As Professor said, it's a stupid law. Thank you.
Mr. Chaudhry, would you like to add something to that, sir?
Well, Shashi, as Mr. Narumbe puts it, both of us took the matter to court. Unfortunately, yes. we did not succeed, and we have also done a budget which supports our manifesto, because we have always maintained that we do not lie to people. We make them promises, and these promises are delivered. They are based on sound economics and on the ability to carry out and implement those promises. Yes, I agree with Professor Biman that the law is quite outrageous. There was no reason why it should have been enacted in the first place. Secondly, this was very cleverly sneaked into Parliament as a part of the budget amendments to the Financial Management Act. It was not introduced as an amendment to the Electoral Act or the Political Parties Act, but rather sneaked in as an amendment to the Financial Management Act. So you can see the sneaky manner in which this legislation was put through Parliament, and it exposes the intent of the Fiji First Party. In all ways and in all manner, they want to have complete control of the electoral process. So let me tell you, and be quite frank about it, the question of free and fair elections is just not possible under this government and under these kind of laws. So the people must understand the kind of constraints we are facing, in making the changes that they all want. They want a change of this government, and all sorts of obstacles are put in our way to frustrate us, to hold us before courts for not complying with these ridiculous laws in the first place. But despite that, I think it's a challenge all of us have taken, and we aim to go through with it.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Ngavoka is back with us. We'll try one more time. Mr. Ngavoka, welcome back to the program. I'll ask you a question that I've asked the rest of the panel members, and that is in reference to the speech given by Major General Koloni Y when he gave that speech at the last parade last week. And during his speech, he said that he prays that as an institution, they always set their eyes, ears, and hearts upon the Lord, and that through the convictions of his Holy Spirit, he will lead us to righteousness. Now, I put to you that righteousness, perhaps in this context, surely means no more coups. And what do you say to that speech delivered by Major General Koloni Y? What's your response to that speech?
Thank you, Shashi. Am I coming across okay now?
Yes, you are. You may continue, please.
Okay. I'm sorry, Sasi. The system has been difficult. I don't know why, because we've done this a few times from my office, and there were never any hiccups like we have today. But we have relocated, and I believe it's now clearer, and we can communicate better. Shashi, the statement by the commander of the military has been welcomed by SODELPA. We have every faith in the officer corps of the military forces that they will provide the type of leadership required in a parliamentary democracy. Within our circles, within people we relate to, there is a lot of confidence that our men in uniform and women in uniform will have put behind the ghosts of the past in terms of using the military to overthrow a government. And we believe they're totally committed now to preserving democracy, parliamentary democracy in its fullest. So, Sasi, that was a very welcome development and much needed as we head towards the election in 2014. There's no doubt that some people have been using fear to consolidate their support. But for us, the fundamentals with SODELPA, SDL, is that coups are not an answer to anything, and especially the Itoke, who we represent as a base of a party. So, Sashi, we welcome the statement, and we have faith in the military and every confidence that they will support the government of the day that will come into power after December 14. Shashi?
All right. I have another question for you, Mr. Ngavoka, and this is a question that I'm duty-bound to ask you. What were you thinking when SODELPA lodged a formal complaint to the Elections Office about the People's Alliance for allegedly failing to cost some of its election promises, including the re-establishment of the Great Council of Chiefs, and this too just days before the election? Now, by any stretch of the imagination, one would expect the incumbent government to attack an opposition party's manifesto, costings, and policies, etc. Now, is there no solidarity amongst the parties opposing the Fiji First? Why did SODELPA do this?
Sasi, firstly, we fully support the reinstatement of the Council of Chiefs. We have that in our manifesto. There is an act called the Itoke Affairs Act of 1944 that enables the Minister of Itoke Affairs and the Itoke Affairs Board to create a council that is beneficial to the Itoke. And we believe that is the way for us to bring in the GCC, the Council of Chiefs, under the law. And they will be there primarily for the Itoke, to protect their resources, protect their way of life, including the appointments of the chairman of the TLTB and the directors. So we are committed to bringing back the Council of Chiefs. That should be made clear, and we've been saying that for quite some time, and it's very much part of our manifesto.
All right, that point is taken. That point is taken, and it's part of your manifesto as well as other parties' manifesto as well. Question though, why did SODELPA lodge that complaint? I mean, you're entitled to, but my question is, at such a late stage in the game, you're attacking the manifesto of another opposition party. Why would you have done that?
Shashi, a manifesto is a contract between a party and the people, and it should be above board. And we want to ensure that it is created with the intention of a contract. One gets the impression that we are a bit casual about our manifesto. We were a little shocked that when you were told that it could even change. So here we are campaigning, for a party with our people, and we really need to be very definite and be above board on what we lay out as a contract with them. So that is primarily what we about. That you have a contract, make sure it is done properly, and that you're beholden to it, and it will not change. That is what we are highlighting here, Shashi.
Well, if you're talking about a contract, why wouldn't you worry about your own contract? Why would you worry about another party's contract? That is something for them to do, and for the Fiji First Party to attack their contract. Why would you be the watchdog?
Well, Sashi, we are here convincing our people on what your fundamentals are, what your policies are, and there's competition out there in the campaign, and it's, they say it's all fair in love and politics, Shashi. It's we need to be very careful on what we put out there and back it up in the way that we have done it at SODAPA.
All right. Well, I'll leave it at that, because there is a wide thought out there that your party, having lodged that complaint, that you are in cahoots with the Fiji First Party. And I just wanted you to clear that. All right, gentlemen, please get ready with your addresses to the nation. I'll give you a moment's break. And as I outlined right at the beginning, I will give each one of you an opportunity to first address the nation in the English language. Have a quick break, and I'll come back to you in just 15 seconds. You are watching Sashi Singh's Talking Point, and our chief guests in today's program are Mr. Savanatha Narumbe, candidate number 342 of the Unity Fiji Party, Mr. Mahendra Chaudhry, candidate number 385, the leader of the Fiji Labour Party, Mr. William Ngavoka, candidate number 402 of the SODAPA Party, Professor Biman Prasad, candidate number 427 of the National Federation Party, and Mr. Sitiveni Rambuka, candidate number 480, leader of the People's Alliance Party. Please like and share the SSTP page so that as many people as possible can hear the leaders speak as Fiji heads to the elections on Wednesday, 14th December. Gentlemen, I will now give each one of you the opportunity to address the nation, first in English. You have 5 to 10 minutes to do so. If you are still speaking, I will give you a little tap on the shoulder, so to say, around the 9-minute mark. First up, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to invite the Unity Fiji Party leader, Mr. Savanatha Narumbe, to deliver his address to the nation. Gentlemen, as Mr. Narumbe delivers his address, he will occupy the screen, but you will all be able to watch him and see him from the green room. Mr. Narumbe, the screen is all yours, sir. Thank you very much. Your address to the nation.
Thank you very much, Shashi. The country is in the throes of a very, very important election. We all know that. We have been under 16 years of rule by intimidation, fear, and all that we know has happened in the last 16 years. We cannot control, we cannot contain, we cannot do that. We have lost a lot of freedom in our societies. So this is, to me, the most important election in the history of Fiji. And I will just use the 5 minutes or so of my time in underlying the most important things that Unity Fiji is different from the other contenders in this election. I'll limit it to that. I have identified many differences, but let's see how many can I cover in the time allocated. The first is leadership. I have always impressed on everybody that leadership, this election is all about leadership. You get the leadership wrong, then everything doesn't flow from there. We have seen that from this government and in other governments as well. So please know your leaders of political parties. I have put out my profile as my former leadership in this country. I put them up for you to see. And I urge you to also look at the same profiles of other leaders of political parties, because then you can make informed choice of that leadership. So the trust is an important issue on leadership. And I will come back to that perhaps later in this address. But I've urged all the Fijian voters, it is time to vote for a civilian-led government in this election. What is it that only a coup maker can be a prime minister? We have civilian leadership that I believe can provide a lot of solutions to many of our problems. The second differences that I would like to highlight is our economic and financial management skills. My profiles provide that. And I think if you look at the problems that we face today, the root causes of them are money. And I think we need someone that knows, that is qualified to look at our money and bring us back from the financial cliff that we are falling over. And I think our problems of debt, wastages, is very much due to an unskilled and inexperienced minister for the economy. So we think that Unity Fiji has the best leadership in this country on when it comes to money and economic management. The third issue is our manifesto. I've said this before. We have complied with the law. We spent a lot of effort doing our manifesto. We launched it 6 weeks ago. We see other parties may be repeating some of these issues that we have raised. But we want to let the voters know what we will do. So I think that is important. Some of the other parties say we will let the voters know after the election. I think the people, the voters, want to see your opinion now. We have revealed all our opinion on the manifesto. Poverty is right there at the front. The rights to services and freedom. Corruption. I think we are the only one raising corruption as a pillar in our manifesto. And lastly, we must heal the wounds of the past before we can build lasting unity. So we are fully costed in manifesto. We have shifted government expenses around. So our deficit in our manifesto is even lower than in government, but it'll have a better impact because the quality of spending is much, much higher. So that's to us is a very, very important differences with the other party. The third or the fourth is a vision that will revolutionize the economy. We have been bumping along in this economy in the last 52 years of our independence. There's nothing that has come up that will give hope that we will lift the economy of this country. So our vision to revolutionize the entire economy is through what we're calling the Economic Transformation Program. It will bring jobs. It will bring incomes, particularly to rural areas. We're just using natural resources that we have. So our components is that will provide the machines to owners and tenants of natural resources, and we will provide value adding, go to the marketing of it, provide capital, protect the land ownership and control, and change the mindsets. The last one is a very important one, Shashi, on changing the mindsets of the people. And we believe that that should be part of this equation. The fifth, the next one, is that we will fight for the poor and the ordinary people. This government is fighting for, I believe, the richer people. The disparity in income is getting wider. We want to equalize income. We want to equalize wealth. So we are introducing the ETP, tax breaks, FNPF withdrawals, reimbursement of it, removal of no job, social welfare allowances linked to inflation, providing housing. So that's a big issue for us. Education is another one. We said this in 2018. Some political parties are echoing us now, but the education opportunities, particularly at the tertiary level, favors the rich. The current scheme favors the rich. So we'll replace the toppers and the tails, remove them and replace them by one scholarship. If you have a place, an offer from a university or a tertiary institution, that qualifies you for scholarship, no condition whatsoever. Lastly, I don't know what time I have, but we have the land issue. Land is very, very important, but no one has touched land issues for quite a while. So this government has removed the control of land from landowners. They emphasize that the ownership is protected but in the Constitution. But what is the use of ownership if you don't have control? We'll bring back control and we will establish a land commission that will examine all the land issues that we face. The next one is healing the wounds of the past. We have opened up wounds in the past, and those wounds are still open. And if we are going to be successful in moving the country forward, uniting the country, we need to heal the wounds of the past. So we'll create a peace and reconciliation commission. We'll look at the flight of the Melanesians people that have been forgotten in Fiji. We'd look at the compensation or the allowances of our peacekeepers in the Middle East that were not paid to them. So these are all the issues. I think that Unity Fiji is very much different from the others. So we will implement what we say, and because that is what our past history of leadership has shown. Lastly, we will bring back that trust to politicians and politics in Fiji. We have lost a lot of that. And we are a new party with a new vision for Fiji, and we'll restore that trust. Thank you very much, Shashi.
Thank you very much indeed for your address to the nation, Mr. Narumbe. It is now the turn of the leader of the Fiji Labour Party, Mr. Mahendra Chaudhry, to deliver his address to the nation. Mr. Chaudhry, you also have 5 to 10 minutes to do this, sir. I now present you, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Mahendra Chaudhry. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Shashi. Let me address the nation on the issues that are of great concern to all of us. And Mr. Narumbe has highlighted some of those. Let me now give the nation what the Labour Party intends to do. Let me address. Good afternoon to you all, ladies and gentlemen, and particularly first-time voters. In 2 days, we go to polls to elect a new government. I need not tell you how crucial this election is for the future of our people. Fiji today stands at a critical crossroads. We desperately need visionary leadership and a renewed sense of direction. Many of you have undergone intense suffering in the past 3 years as a result of failures of the current leadership. Today, I bring you a message of hope. There is an opportunity now for a change that can brighten your lives, a change that can realize your hopes and aspirations. For many of you, it has been difficult. People everywhere tell me that the cost of living is very high and that they are finding it difficult to make ends meet. But the shocking truth is that over half our people live in poverty or on the verge of it. Our nation is overburdened with debt. Corruption is a serious problem. The economy is deeply troubled. There is mounting social distress. Labour may not have been in Parliament in the past 8 years, but we have continued to stand by you, making our voice heard on all matters that have made life difficult for you. The escalating cost of living, the fight for a fair wage for workers, the assault on the rights of the workers, and so on. Labour is now ready to take on a new challenge, to rebuild Fiji where everyone is treated fairly. We are ready to tackle the root causes of poverty by empowering our people to live in dignity, to earn fair wages, afford healthy, nutritious food for their families, give their children a decent education, and have access to affordable housing and quality health care. We want to see that our workers are treated fairly, that they have security of employment, and that their jobs and rights are fully protected. We want to substantially reduce the high unemployment rate among our youth. We want to give them a life worth living. We want all our people to feel that they have fair access to opportunities and to state benefits. We want a government which is transparent and accountable to the people. We want to rid the nation of corruption and nepotism. We want Fiji to once again enjoy genuine democracy where our fundamental rights and freedoms are fully protected with respect for human rights and adherence to the rule of law. Labour stands before you with a proven record of 37 years of dedicated service to the people of Fiji. The achievements of the Labour governments of 1987, short as they were in 1999, stand as a true testimony of our vision and our ability to govern for the benefit of all. Our compassion and sensitivity to the needs of our people and our courage and determination to maintain course in the face of adversity remain unmatched. Our 2022 manifesto, ladies and gentlemen, present once again Labour's vision for our nation. We have a dynamic set of carefully thought out policies to address each of the key issues that confront us, most of which, of course, require an holistic approach. Our specific policies and plans on women, health, education, local government, housing and infrastructure, sugar, agriculture, reversing rural decline, the environment, growing the private sector, law and order, etc., are all specifically expressed in our manifesto. Because of time constraint, let me very briefly highlight some of the important ones which we intend to implement immediately. We will fully restore workers' rights, including the right to collective bargaining, reinstate permanency of employment in the civil service, and abolish short-term contracts, restore retirement age to 60, review civil service salaries and allowances, including the security forces. We will reopen the cases of all employees terminated during the COVID crisis, in the ATS, in Air Pacific, and in government statutory bodies like FERCA, to see that justice is done to them. On Fiji National Provident Fund, we will reimburse to members' accounts the $180 million that members were forced to withdraw from their pension funds to support themselves. This was the responsibility of the government, which they should have undertaken, but they pushed it on to the workers. We will increase the FNPF pension rate back to 15%, and we will restore the tripartite governance structure of the FNPF. We will increase all social welfare payment to $200 a month across the board. On cost of living, we will take immediate steps to reduce the cost of living through reduction in VAT and import duties. We have policies to address the issue in the medium and long term by increasing local production and manufacturing capacity. On sugar, Labour has a comprehensive plan to revitalize the sugar industry. We will increase the minimum guaranteed price to $202 a ton, and we have also promised to build a new mill in Ra to replace the Penang mill. We are confident that we can reshape our economy and create opportunities that will deliver on the expectations of our people. After all, Labour comes to you with a proven record in trusted leadership and an outstanding record of achievements in just one short year in office in 1999-2000. We've shown record GDP growth at 9.6%, which remains unmatched. We've shown government revenue that was highest ever, operating expenditure lowest ever, and inflation rate the lowest ever at 0.2%. We were a caring government. Labour slashed the cost of living by removing VAT and customs duty from basic food items and brought a range of other consumer items under price control. Good governance was the hallmark of the Labour-led government. Despite such achievements, our overwhelming mandate to govern in 1999 was cut short by an unjustified grab for power by terrorists. We need that mandate back again to show what good governance and sensitivity to the needs of our people is all about. We are there for you. We have done it once, and we can do it again. We have a proven record in office, unmatched by any other party in this election. Give us an opportunity to serve you again. Choose wisely. Vote Labour for a better future for all our people. I thank you, and may God bless Fiji.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Chaudhry. What great timing you had with your delivery. 9 minutes, sir. Thank you so much. And now it is turn for the SODELPA leader, Mr. Viliame Ngavoka, to deliver his address to the nation. Mr. Ngavoka, you have 5 to 10 minutes as well. Your address to the nation, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Sashi. Thank you, listening in today. The last day of campaigning, as we had for the elections on the 14th. I just want to take you back to December 5, 2006, when the SODELPA SDL government was overthrown by the military. And it was on December 5, 2022, that the elections started through the pre-polls. So it's been exactly 16 years when SODELPA SDL was overthrown based on lies, on assumptions that were self-serving for those who were behind that removal of the legitimate government of Laiseni Ngarase. And he was vilified and unfairly branded to be a racist. We know him well. Many of us know him well, that he was not a racist, that he was concerned with the country. He had very good economic policies, and he was very inclusive. But the fact that he wanted to uplift the well-being of the Itaukei made him a racist in the eyes of the few who managed to influence the military at that time to put an end to his governance. We are now 21 years old, SODELPA SDL. And this election will be pivotal for this country as we regain and we want to reestablish the legacies of Laiseni Ngarase. So far, the pre-poll is working towards our favor, and it's an indication that the policies of SODELPA, based on 21 years of experience, is resonating across our country. We have been been primarily driven by our policies in this campaign, We were the first to launch our manifesto, backed by a full budget. We have talked about the difficulties we experienced with this new ruling. But as I said earlier, we decided not to argue with the referee and go for it. And we have done that. And our policies are now in the hands of minimum 300,000 people with our flyers. And if you multiply that by 2 or 3, it is now in the hands of more than 600,000 people. Policies that are clearly laid out, very specific and timely for this country. And it is resonating very well. And we believe we are seeing, we will be seeing some significant changes come the 14th of December, Wednesday. Let me just go through some of the policies that we have in place. Number one is that SODELPA will enact a resource tax based on 5% on the gross receipts of prescribed businesses to provide funding for the socio-economic development of the Itoke. Most of these businesses were levied a 10% tax under the Environment and Climate Adaptation Levy, ECOL, now repealed by the current government. SODELPA believes that this is the way we can uplift the Itoke, and we have to be bold and take that step. From the 10% tax, which has been repealed, we'll go for 5 and raise the funds to look after to raise the well-being of the Itoke. We will put in place a development program to raise the standards of the villages in the rural and urban areas, providing $50,000 for each village each year. In 10 years, the standards in the Itoke villages will be amongst the highest compared to other indigenous communities elsewhere. To strengthen the administration of villages, Turangani Koro, $200 a week. SODELPA will the balance sheets of the 14 provincial companies by injecting $3 million a year to each company over a 10-year period. The 14 provincial companies will have grown to the size of Fijian Holdings Limited. I am chairman of the Nandronganabasa Corporation Limited, and I know what $3 million can do to the corporation to raise it to the level of Fijian Holdings. SODELPA will give ownership of Fiji Pine Limited and Fiji Hardwood Corporation to the landowners on whose land pine and mahogany are grown. We continue to talk about Itoke being asset-rich, cash poor. We have to take steps such as these to ensure that they are asset-rich and cash-rich. SODELPA will pay for the premiums on leases for agriculture, whether new or renewal, to A, provide security for farmers, B, provide stability in productions from farms, and C, provide rewards to the landowners for the lease of their land. This is resonating very well with our farmers who have been expressing anxiety on whether their leases will be approved or renewed. SODELPA will look after them. SODELPA will set up a $10 million fund each year to provide redress for the descendants of Girimities. It will engage with the government of the UK and Australia to be part of the process of redress for the inhuman treatment of the Girimities. We all know the stories, and we are saddened by it. SODELPA will do something about it by setting up this fund. SODELPA will provide free education for our people to their first degree at universities in Fiji, diplomas at technical college schools, or special courses to acquire skills at technical colleges. SODELPA will harmonize the standards offered at technical colleges to that of Australia and New Zealand. SODELPA will forgive all student loans incurred through TELS to remove the burden of debts from our people. Except for doctors and medical professionals, no one will be bonded after acquiring the qualifications.
We seem to be having internet issues with Mr. Ngavoka. I'll just wait to see if he continues. It's only fair that he does complete his address. Keep going.
Which need immediate redress. SODELPA will provide facelift to all our hospitals and health outlets with particular attention to the conveniences. Our toilets are in shocking conditions. We owe it to our people to have convenience that are at par with the best in Fiji. SODELPA will immediately start the process of building two 150-bed state-of-the-art hospitals, one for Nasinu and one for Nandi. The one at Nasinu is to relieve the pressure from CWM, and for Nandi to also cater for tourists, Nandi being the heartland of tourism. SODELPA will ratify PASA Plus to strengthen trade with partners in the region. Being part of this trading bloc and meeting its well-recognized regulatory standards will place Fiji in a strong position to trade with other countries outside of the region. SODELPA will harmonize Fiji's tax structure for businesses to that of the other countries in the region. Fiji has been giving away too much in tax cuts, impacting on the resources of government to deliver services to its people. Every time we give away tax cuts, we must ask the question, how are you going to pay for it? An example is the corporate tax, which we reduced from 28% in 2013 to 2017 and 10, taking away about $300 million from the treasury. We cannot afford that. In comparison to the region, Australia's corporate tax is 30%, Papua New Guinea is 30%, New Zealand is 28%, Tonga is 25%. So Fiji needs to increase its revenue and not give it away to businesses based on some convoluted economic assumptions that has
1 minute left. 1 minute left.
That we have been asked to accept in this country. In closing, let me just emphasize here that the Itoke have been badly done by this government. There are some 32 discriminatory decrees that are now laws that have affected the Itoke very badly. So SODELPA will repeal all those laws. We cannot be living in a country where the significant segment of the country is being discriminated with some of these laws. I have been in parliament for 8 years. I've been a party member for 21 years. I have been a party leader for 2 years. And I have been honored to lead a group of 54 very talented people. And I have had a huge say as a reward. I've had the huge say in how to influence the policies of the party. And I'm very honored to be representing SODELPA and to be asking you all, the people of this country, to vote for SODELPA, vote for change, vote for a leadership that you know is inclusive, and vote for the removal of fear from our midst in this country. We want this country to be totally free of fear. Thank you very much, Shashi, and thank you very much, our audience today. Thank you.
Naka, Mr. Ngavoka, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, to deliver his address to the nation, it is now the turn of the leader of the National Federation Party, Professor Biman Prasad. You also have 5 to 10 minutes to do so, sir. The screen is all yours, Professor Biman.
Thank you, Shashi, and dear people of Fiji. Today, I want to tell you, this election is not just about who will be your next prime minister. This election is not just about who will be your ministers. This election is not just about this party winning or that party winning. This election is about whether we will continue to live in fear or be given full and guaranteed freedom. This election is about whether we will continue to have dictatorship or achieve genuine democracy after 16 years. This election is about choosing between leaders who bully us, who think we should bow down to them at all times, or leaders that respect us at all times, or let our voices be heard and act on them. You have seen very clearly how Frank Bainimarama and Ayaz Sayed Qayyum have behaved over the last 16 years. They have not gotten better. In fact, they have gotten worse. They listen to no one. They do not want to. They have put our government into huge debt. You and your children must pay the debt. But they don't tell you that how they're going to resolve all the mess that they have created. They are going around the country creating fear, telling lies, but are not offering any policies or solutions to addressing fundamental issues like the decline in the sugar industry, the disastrous health services ever in the history of this country, the crippling debt that has burdened our country, our people. They're not talking about the rising cost of living. They're not talking about how they're going to address that. They're not talking about how the real wages and salaries of our people have remained stagnant. So let's forget about them. Let's talk about what is coming. Let's talk about our new government. We in the National Federation Party have forged a post-election partnership with the People's Alliance Party, and we believe that we are offering you, the people of Fiji, a real alternative, a real choice as to what a new government could offer. And let me tell you how we will be different from what you have now from a two-man rule. The first thing is about attitude. It is about respect for the people. We will be different from them. We will show respect to our people. We will not be arrogant like them. We will always try and learn from our mistakes. We will always listen when we are criticized. We will always listen to how we can be better. My fellow citizens, we have a huge task ahead. We must reform and build the economy, agriculture, forestry, business. We must take small and medium enterprise. We must make small and medium enterprises bigger. There is so much to do. We must get economic benefits to so many more people. We must look after our most vulnerable people. Health, welfare, and education. And again, people of Fiji, I want you to listen carefully. Do not believe the lies that the Fiji First Party and the supporters and the candidates are spreading throughout the country. They are going out there and saying that the new government will take these benefits away. Don't be fooled by them. Let me tell you, they will not be cut. We want to spend more. So do not believe the Fiji First lies. We have very clearly articulated what we will do. I don't have time to go into the details of our vision and where we want to take the country in the different sectors, whether it's infrastructure, the economy, the health, education, agriculture, governance, how we're going to promote better democracy. These are all included in our vision document. We have laid it out very, very clearly, and we have made this public, and our people are appreciating what we want to do. But let me just quickly point out some of the things that we are going to do in the first 100 days and perhaps in the first 600 days. Sorry, in the first 6 months. I'm not going to read, Sashi and the people of Fiji, all the things that we have listed to do in the first 100 days, but let me just point out some key ones. In the first 100 days, we will slash government ministers' salaries and allowances by 1/3. We will appoint an independent parliamentary emoluments committee with no politicians in it. to recommend appropriate ministerial and parliamentary salaries and allowances. We will end motorcades and pull all government ministerial vehicles, cut the use by 50% and sell or end the leases where we can. Request the Auditor General to help the Finance Ministry to cut overspending, waste, pilferage, and other losses in government departments, because we believe that millions and millions of dollars over the last so many years have been wasted and diverted away from the real sectors where people need help, such as social welfare, unemployment benefits, support to our farmers in agriculture, in the sugar industry, support to our families living in the informal squatter settlements, support to develop and build homes and resettle some of our people living in squalid conditions in the squatter settlements. We want to end the contract of Kobe's communications. Expensive foreign propaganda companies are not or will not be the style of the NFP and the People's Alliance government. There are many other priorities that we have listed, Shashi. These are some of the ones that I have just highlighted that we will do in the first 100 days. And I urge the people to read the others, go onto our website, which will be still available until probably midnight tonight. And in the first 6 months, Shashi and the people of Fiji, we will work on restoring the rights and freedom of trade unions and workers. And we have listed 22 things that we will do in the first 6 months to give freedom to the workers of this country, freedom to the leaders of the trade union movement, so that they can negotiate, they can bargain on behalf of the workers of this country. We will, for example, legislate an annual minimum wage review with a view to achieving a living wage. We will put a stop to exploitation of workers by publicly funded contractors. We will complete all labor reviews within the first year of government. Review FNPF structure by amending FNPF decree, including governance to restore workers, say, in funds that are 100% owned by them. We are going to ensure that the restoration of contribution rate of 8% to employers and 10% for employer is done in a shortest period of time.
9 minutes is up.
We will look at good policies in reducing the cost of living. And I'll just want to highlight one item out of there. We will review duties and charges on imported goods and services. On health, we will develop a strategy to get the health ministry funded to $500 million per annum, or the required WHO international benchmark, by second year in office. And finally, Shashi, I want to conclude again by saying to the people of Fiji, in the next few days, as we saw in the 2018 election, there will be attempt to spread fake news, spread fear, intimidate our voters so that they can continue to vote the Fiji First Party. We know that our people are not afraid. We know that you have now seen what this government is all about. And we know that our people are brave people. Our people deserve better. And we know that you will vote this government out on the 14th of December. That is Wednesday next week. I want to take this opportunity to thank all of you, thank all our candidates, their families, their friends, and everyone that has joined us throughout the campaign period, given us support, attended our meetings, and we look forward to a new government after the 14th of December. Thank you. God bless. God bless you, and God bless Fiji.
Thank you very much indeed, Professor Biman Prasad. And to deliver the last of the address to the nation in this panel is the leader of the People's Alliance Party, Mr. Sitiveni Rambuka. Sir, you also have 5 to 10 minutes to deliver your address to the nation. The screen is yours. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Mr. Sitiveni Rambuka.
Nagulevu Sashi, I thank all the my colleagues, the leaders of various political parties, for their contribution. Very elucidating and very convincing. I congratulate them all. I think if they listen, the people, the people who are listening in will probably find very close similarities in the pronouncements by my colleagues, the leaders of various political parties. Kemnina turambale na marambale, turanke na marama, vivenua viti, ladies and gentlemen, and the youth of Fiji. I want to share with you one fact that became very clear to me in my visits to villages and settlements throughout Fiji over the past several months. Everyone I have met wants change. They are sick of the malice and the vindictiveness of the two-man dictatorship that we now have. These two dictators have weaponized the law and they have created to harass their political opponents and maintain a grip on power. It is a form of psychological violence inflicted on us, the good people of Fiji. If you don't believe how psychologically debilitating this form of political harassment can be, you can ask our friend from the National Federation Party who has been disqualified now as a candidate, Mr. Richard Naidu, and my own party's deputy leaders, Dan Lobandan and Linda Tambuya. Even my good friend and colleague partner, coalition partner, Professor Biman Prasad, has been hauled up to some sort of headquarters for interrogation and questioning on more than one occasion. I too have been subjected to that. The 5th of December, as one of my colleagues mentioned, was indeed a very sad day for Fiji. For me, the 5th of December 2006 was a great day. It was the day when the judge presiding over my case announced to all those gathered there in the courtroom, Mr. Rambuka, I find you not guilty. You are a free man. You may go and join your family. It was a difficult time. It was the end of the prosecution case brought by Mr. Ngarase's prosecutor, public prosecutor at the time. He was doing his duty. He was finishing a process required to administer justice on those that had contravened the law. But the date was a very significant date. And when we started our pre-polling voting on the 5th of December this year, it brought back memories of that happy day. But it was not a happy day for most in Fiji. Some lost their jobs, some were lost their careers in parliament. So, and we must not go back to that. But now, over the last 16 years, we have seen the destruction that has happened to this great nation, its people, and its facilities. The other thing that has become very, very noticeable for us are the concerns of the people for the social issues like poverty, the rising cost of living, and my colleagues have highlighted those. Now they're going to tackle those. We also have ways of doing that in our manifesto, which has been widely distributed. People are concerned about the poor state of government services, and that has been a dominant concern of the people. I would like to encourage you all, with respect, to see if you can prove for yourself by walking through our own hospitals in Suva, in Sausavu, and Ba, and all the other centers where we have hospitals. And we promise you, I promise you as leader of the People's Alliance, and I'm sure I say that with confidence, the confidence that my coalition partner, the National Federation Party, will support me. We promise that we will bring life-changing changes with our facilities and the feelings of the people as you walk about, as you talk about, and as you do your daily chores. As you go through these hospitals and see what prevails in them, as you drive through our roads, as you try and cross bridges, as you see the dilapidated state of some government buildings and the shortage of supplies of material for the people who serve us, who must be working under very trying morale situation, we promise you that we will make things better. The people yearn for a better future, and I believe there's a lot of hope in the atmosphere. Hope is the salvation of our nation. And to the people, to the chiefs and the Vanuas, and all those who are listening into this, and those who will get to hear of this, the People's Alliance and our partners, the National Federation Party, promise you a better future that you are yearning for. I feel compelled at this moment to make a very important promise. Most of the leaders have referred to my past and my dark past. And I say I do not blame them. The past is there, nobody can deny that. But I hope people have seen the change in me since that fateful day of the 14th of May 1987, particularly my role in national leadership. I promised from the bottom of my heart that I will protect our Indo-Fijian community in Fiji and other ethnic minority groups, as highlighted by my colleague, Mr. Narumbe, the Melanesian, the Micronesian communities in Fiji. We will look after your interests. The same promise I extend to my own community, the community I am so proudly a member of. That is the community, the Tauke community in Fiji. I will protect you all and your interests. No one in Fiji should ever feel threatened under a People's Alliance NFP-led coalition government. I and the party that I lead and our coalition partners promise to provide you a national leadership that is driven by our love for Fiji and Fijians of today and of the future, to lay the foundation for that great future that our future generations can look forward to and enjoy. We will respect your rights to speech, religion, and conscience, and we'll provide the environment for all to be able to achieve your full potential. In times of crises, people demand a leader, whether that leader is a former military leader or a civilian leader. We can provide Fiji the leadership we need at this time of crisis. We have the will to lead, and I believe we have the character that deserves your confidence. May God bless you all, and we collectively ask God to provide us the blessing that will give us that leadership. And with this prayer, I'd like to end this English part of it. And I hope Sashi will allow me to say a few words in Fijian, as I have another engagement, and you had promised us only 1 hour. And I say this prayer: O Lord our God, God of the universe, who in thy wisdom has appointed rulers and councils for the leadership of nations and peoples, we ask that you grant us wisdom, diligence, justice, and compassion to lead your people and the people of this country, so that all that we do may bring honor and glory to your name. Amen. Thank you, Sashi. That's the English part. Kami sa na turang ken marama. Au krea mani ngo manung tuku bo witingo ni na ngol talchu endo na tuku endo na tuba ke to tabi ke na wat ke nongi lawa. Sa krea no nomni vito koni oni sa kle au senga sa tilivina ka nong tegu bu mai. Ya medo mengo bombo tenyo ni sa reida. Na vika kito na rawata. Au sa rawata oti. O bimbi ko irana nong ito kani. Kema mitubata and the People's Alliance, the kema mina toko ni to na ni tu la me National Federation Party ke to wandurien do na maten tu ndau lama do na maten tu ndau ve kawaitaki do na maten tu en maruri kenda to ko na le ni bunongo men da rawata ki na nei soli kedanga e soli vi kenda na klo men da rawata en nanda bula en a buru sa beauty kedakina sa no masu ni na bakalunga te kenda bata na klo kenda na maru taka bata na singni sudu ke na kalunga te ni ambego kanda na druma ni na buno ni vending di na mavango en bula benak kanda dingin na elo ngalala men de dingi taken do na maten tu kana kauto me weekend na visau kana varita weekend na vilu take vinakadaki men kena en sa tabitu men go en a lomani tina ka ono na mbaki vina sarabalebu ni kalonga tiko.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Rambuka, and well delivered, gentlemen, insofar as your English deliveries. At this juncture, I'd like to invite the Unity Fiji Party leader, Mr. Narumbe, to address the nation in Fijian. Mr. Narumbe, the floor is yours, sir.
Yeah, vinaka Shashi. Vinawalebu kimni warrong tikumai and program ngo o kinda kimuni na walebu na sulit tikono muningona. O sapa madal tako si toko pa walangin na bika lebu kito na lay takawan na Unity Fiji. Unity Fiji go e kabo. Tiko bikito na be kasama wo na iwali wo ni lenga sa toka makawa. Na lenga go sa dola tiko mai na vida sanga bulu nembaki. To bangara en doan na kabo don veli taki wo me kauti kenda to na bono. To dormen to toka kina. Sa lima sanga bulu karua nembaki no to tu batai kenda to kina. Lima rua nembaki. Ibe ni na numa na bono to toka kina na kawi to ke. Ni oti lima rua nembaki. Eu no reida no kila no bangbota to toka saranga en no to ndrabu bakai labu. Sandona ngono balabu mai ala takatu kina be matini tu sara dur mai sara lesu matini tu ngo nirna bu ke kenta en no to mbula bakai labu. Ya tu toka sartonga en ndrabu bakai labu. Ya dalati ko endona ka. Eu no bangbote dalati ko na value taki. Tu senga tiko ni ndingi taka endona veli take tiu kina na savsava e tiu kina na ndondonu e tiu kina ndina me liu te kenda waka binaka. Na Unity Fiji go kake tu ndu waka leu kina ni senga saratim ngani tiko vekito endona buto. Ke tu thuru saratim ngama e na rarama. Savsava saratim ngana lingai kito. Na ne to i naki lewunga menda to walia nan rawua. Ni nonda to mbula bakai labo. To na walia bakadaba. Kito sa tuba na tiu kani gori e ndua na program watu kaitiko na Economic Transformation Program. Senga ni ndua tale na political parties e songo baka politiki e tiko vira togori. E senga tale. To sama i wata na lastaki vira na ve matani tu tale. Sara durmai, sara lesu. Era kati mai buke kenda sang sartingana be buke na Economic Transformation Program ETP go era buki da sarangana nonda tumbula na davana vata ke to ko mai na Economic Transformation Program matai sa senga ni ngona tale ni sivi ni matai vango solitunga be kenda na kalalai senga tikunianga eno nonda tu rawaka sa ngona ni misini e kau mai be na misini ni senga nonda silini. Kwana vebu ke maikina na matini tu wo ni Unity Fiji menda to sulimai na misini. Kene karua o kenda to ni matuanga na nonda to ite to dolata ni to ni ngoni sala sena makete. Rlenda betoko nonda marama ena vida na singa nonda sangatiko me rawa mai nei lavo en bula kina mata buwale. Sandende e baka sartunga na nonda to umbula e do tiko mai na ngono ko. Value takitiko na kaibiti era nonda to vanua ni ote lima rua na empaki. Sango na menda toso na value takiwo. Kito na ndreta mai na kakito watu katiko walange na processing centers. Me rombo na processing centers. Toko ten nonda to voli me le process taki rome kina nei lavo e rani waka rua sanga wulu waka tolu sanga wulu taka nei lavo to rawata mai na makete kere katolu maroroi no no da to I umbula maroroi no no da to lewana I umbula levitiko na lao sa viso takitiko go me kota levitiko na kena no da to lewana I umbula ke to na reta le stale mai na vila to doka ke to na wangdure tale na Great Council of Chiefs me rani vebuke e no no da to I la hola ko gongo kene kaba men rondo mai na capital e senga tiko no da to capital we ke buni ni to ke tu bakan dua tu nga no no da to sasanga ni senga tiko na kena wi wai ke to na we buke mai na capital ke to no no matali tinga mele indua na ke to le vanduri indua na commercial bank me venga rap mai weekend kene uti nga pata number 5 na ila ko go o ya me da tu we so taka no no da to waka sama na mindset ni alo benasara indona kam bimbingo indona kan rendre ke to na kreki na we buke ni no da to turang bale the Great Council of Chiefs wata kena we buke ni lotu o bombuta sana raukin ni to muida na mindset go na we so go ni na senga tal ni rongoda mai na dua tal na songo baka politiki ke to nga ke to kote tiko mai na kawo uti neo kina ni kawo itoke e na we so taka sarangana no da to umbula na economic transformation program au kre
1 minute to go.
Men da to vending dingi e na bata ngo me kauta mai na so tu weekend siang ni weekend wala nga bata ve irake no non da kau mai mur uno go me toki na ding dingi kalau ngata tiko na garabi tavi ni le vending dingi ni bina wale ite mo taman.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Narumbe. And to deliver his address in Hindi to the voters, it is now the turn of the leader of the Fiji Labour Party, Mr. Mahendra Chaudhry. Sir, you have 3 to 5 minutes for your address in Hindi. Thank you, sir.
प्रिय मतदाताओं, आप सबको मेरा नमस्कार। सिर्फ 3 ही मिनट मिला है, 5 मिनट, इसमें तो बहुत कुछ नहीं कह सकता हूं, लेकिन ये मैं आपको स्पष्ट कर देना चाहता हूं कि अगर जो आप महंगाई से, बेकारी से, गरीबी से छुटकारा चाहते हो तो आप फीजी फेस्ट को मत अपना वोट दीजिए। हम देख चुके हैं कि हमारे लोग कितने तंग हैं। बहुत से लोग मुश्किल से जी रहे हैं। उनकी जो आमदनी है उसके खिलाफ में जो महंगाई है वो सह नहीं सकते। आप सब जानते हैं कि आज आप किस हालात से गुजर रहे हैं। तो इससे छुटकारा पाने के लिए आपको फीजी फेस्ट सरकार को हटाना पड़ेगा, नहीं तो आप और इस गरीबी में, इस बेकारी में, इस महंगाई में डूबते जाओगे। मैं क्षमा चाहूँगा कि मैं सभी जगह पहुँच नहीं सका आपसे बातचीत करने के लिए, मीटिंग करने के लिए, लेकिन हमारा जो संदेश है वो बिल्कुल साफ है। फीजी लेबर पार्टी का रिकॉर्ड आप जानते हैं। 1999-2000 में मैं भी सरकार चलाया और आप सब उससे वाकिफ़ हैं कि वो किस तरह का सरकार था, जनता के हित में क्या क्या किया, किसानों के हित में क्या क्या किया, मजदूरों के हित में क्या क्या किया। वही सब हम करेंगे का ख्याल रखते हैं। और ये सरकार आपकी है, क्योंकि ये लेबर पार्टी बना ही गई है मामूली लोगों के लिए, किसानों के लिए, मजदूरों के लिए, छोटे मोटे जो रोजगार करते हैं उनके लिए, और जो नौकरी और मेहनत से अपनी कमाई करते हैं और अपनी जीवन बसर करते हैं। अपना भविष्य देखिए, अपने बच्चे का भविष्य देखिए और उनके हित में आप वोट दीजिए। अच्छी तरह से सोच समझकर आप चुनिए और ये आवश्यक है कि आप ज़रूर से ज़रूर अपना वोट दें। इसको आप खोए। अगर जो आप वो बदलाव चाहते हैं जिसके विषय में आप बोलते चले आए हैं, हम जानते हैं जहाँ जहाँ भी हम गए हैं सब लोग कहते हैं कि हम बदलाव चाहते हैं, हम तंग हो गए। और अवश्य 16 वर्ष से ये लोग वहाँ बैठे हुए हैं, देश की हालात ख़राब कर दी है और सभी को तंगी और तकलीफ़ी में छोड़ दिया है। तो कृपया आप अपना जो अधिकार है, जो सरकारी बैठाने का, सरकार हटाने का अधिकार जनता का है, उस अधिकार का आप उपयोग करें और 14 तारीख दिसंबर को आप इस सरकार को हटाएं और फिजी को बचाएं। धन्यवाद।
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Chaudhry. You spoke for less than 3 minutes. So if you want another minute or so, I'll allow you that. Or is that okay?
Thank you. Well, I just want to tell the cane farmers, मैं खास करके गन्ने के किसानों को यह आश्वासन देता हूं कि उनके लिए जो 1999 में क्रॉप रिहेबिलिटेशन प्रोग्राम था उसको हम फिर से लागू करेंगे। हम ये कह चुके हैं कि गन्ने का दाम हम बढ़ाएंगे $85 से $102 टन करेंगे। पिनेंग मिल को हम बनाएंगे फिर से ताकि वहाँ के किसान को सहूलियत पहुँचे, और जो वर्तमान में सब्सिडी वगैरह है उन सबको बरकरार रखेंगे। साथ साथ में जो लीज रिन्यूअल पे प्रीमियम वगैरह है जो अभी आपको भरना पड़ता है कर्ज लेकर, वो सरकार भरेगी। इस तरह से हम किसानों को सहूलियत पहुंचाएंगे। मजदूर जो हैं जिनकी नौकरी चली गई है सरकार द्वारा ITS में, जो फिजी एयरवेज में हैं, जो फरका में हैं, और जो सरकारी डिपार्टमेंट में थे सब जो रिफॉर्म के नीचे जिनको हटा दिया गया है, उन सब की केस को फिर से हम दोबारा खोलेंगे ताकि उनके साथ न्याय हो। सामाजिक और आर्थिक न्याय का होना अत्यंत आवश्यक है, और ये हम देखेंगे कि किसी के साथ ऐसा अन्याय ना हो। तो एक बार फिर आप सभी को धन्यवाद, और जैसे मैंने कहा है कि 14 तारीख दिसंबर को अवश्य आइए और अपना वोट दीजिए।
Dhanyavad, Mr. Chaudhry. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Chaudhry. Just a reminder that we'll come back at the end of the delivery of speeches in the vernacular, and we will address one final thing with the party leaders before we wrap up our panel discussion for this afternoon. And our news segment with Nikhil Singh will follow straight after the panel discussion. Now, to address the voters in Fijian, we have the leader of the Sodelpa Party, Mr. William Ngavoka. Mr. Ngavoka, you have 3 to 5 minutes to deliver your address in Fijian, sir. It's yours. Thank you.
Levu Shashi, we communicate na viokani and anonda vitia. Kitu wabre nakabakalewu na lewu ni songo na Sodelpa and we semati and we tokoni. Kitu sa raite tikumai and ambagiongo and neito wuna uboli. Nanonda viti raramba. Membalatani lakolango kina tingi. Yana ene katini karuo ni singa ni katinga wani singa ni December. Sama ilaba irna be tingi to manda ando boto eto na pre-poll ekene bakarite kemai ni sa tigo bena kasarna Sodelpa ene tingi kabaga dori na mali wani kalima ni singa kene ka viwa ni singa gondo ni barite kibinaka ndaro ni kawango ni za build up momentum kina ikachin ka wani singa na singa buke lulu. Okay, tu na party kan do bakato kay na SDL. Bakati ko rin na pachungo and ang bagrondol kandua na nonra boss bata na turang baliki viti kapag rin may tamabuwa ng una ko ya. Karanting itaki lai sini ang karaseki na meliuta ka na party. Tungganga may bakaruan na tingi tu may buwa birtaki. Tu lestal mai na tu ni ba isang bakaruan na ruan dolo chinika 5 chinika ba kina ruan dolo chinika 8 ni kuwa to sa bola ka sa tingongo ni kinapinding tingi tala tarabongo kasa chiku na ba kambauta kina ba nui ni nando to na matentu ni ocho na wending tingi na singabu ke lulu o kenda to na party e abutaki mai na kawai to okay e abutaki mai na ba kambauta mbimbi ngo menda ka ko ni do ba kay ataka ni bola singa ni ba kalawa menda rawa takin ndona kana kawai to okay do ba ataka na lawa na lawango elo mani parliamendi ke baka chiko be kenda ni wili na be ka ka dengan rawa ena rawa ni baka lawa taki kana rawa taki na kawai to okay o ya usamba ki wali parliamendi ama isuli be ya ni tutu baka lilu ni party na mbaki ruwa sawati kausa kausi kene tiku mayengo na ruwa mbaki kasa bola kasarango ni mai lava nonda party e kurete ki sarabo kada ya na party ngo e baka no vale tarendel ni batu ena senga ni kasura rawa Oba memna oba lewu, pero to na lewu 5 ka tolu tal no kitokani. Kito baka tiki tingo ni sodalpa. Ke minting taki mai ke muni. Merawa kina na matintu ni sodalpa. Merawa kina vika enda tuba ka kina. Kunisa kila na
Seems like the internet's dropped out. If you can hear us, Bill, keep going. Okay, we seem to have internet problems with Mr. Ngavoka. I'll just give him another moment to see if he can patch in with us. That was his delivery in the vernacular.
Sashi, am I coming across okay?
Yes, you are now. You are. Keep going. Where
Okay.
you? Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Sashi. And itu kailan ko na biya kan itu bani na itu manifesto. E matata ba kabinaka? Kati ko sarang kina na yalo inde ni bakang bau talo ni mbole. Mendo buti daga na kawito okay. And nonla tuba ni ministry ni kai ba ito okay. Kito sambiti kin endo nanda 5.5 million $. Metangarabi kin na kawito okay. And matin tu ni kuwa. Erto mbiti chuko chinka 5 milioni. Membale sikenda. Kito sa singo na ni mbole. Me tumbo lagi kin endo nanda 5.5 million $. Endo ni bakala balawa. Kito sambiti chungo na resource tax. 5%. Kito abi talan wakina. Prime Minister bakatling ulay sinyang garse. Sema sa Karabaki, niko na way kulapate kiyaw. Kung bitig na biro to na baka tutungo. Mendo ni bakatapatapa. Isa sinle suminat ngoli. Mendo ni bakatapatapa. May buti ka na nakawito okay. Manibaro taka biyaw garse. Tuna biyaw. Bill. Lakaw merawa. Sa ikwasarango sa tuba kachukin sa manifesto ngo ni Sojapa. Kay matayin ko ninduwa na isong-isong baka politiki. May bita ba din doon yung baka labang-laba, may nganisikan na nakawit okay. And ang bera sa rachiko baka lebu. Kanong doon may doon na nakawa ka ngo, natutuwa ka ngo, may rinturin baka na interventions and affirmative action. And kaya matanggal yung ngo, may buwiti ka na nakawit okay. Era na ba toro kayo na bikorkoro. 5.5 million $. Na biyang baki. Tumbo na kaya sa naturo ni koro, $1 na biyang madawa.
1 minute.
Wadurumi lavo kina kambani ni sana chinka bona sana me chinka bona kambani tinemba gimingo me bakata na Fusion Holdings mendala beti na kawito okay mendaka ko ni mota sara boli sa chiko sarango na tuba se ni tuba ramba se na bitala noa se ni bakandita ki bakilabo kito sa baka muri na kana lawan ni mota ntu biti na Electoral Act 2014 section 1164C me kito bakarita kau me bi na kinilabo Wang tagi bakadaba, kaya baka tikunan ginaw na sabi bakadaba. Niray lang na ito website www.sodalpa.org. Matata chukina, tubo kaya lango, tubo ni bagong bauta, tubo ni sa kena ngaunongo, na reboot. May buti lang na kawit okay. And tubo manda kakuwa ni yalo lay kina.
Time's up.
Ito sabi ko na bakalebu, labi ito ko ni manabunua kiti okay, biting na kaya tubo no kina. Labi sa mati, akitubo ambo sigo na bakabuto ka nongo. Ana katin ka ba ni singa ni bulongo singa bukalulu ni kalango tiko na kangu ni ndeitiko ni ndingitaki Sodalpa na walebu
Mr. Ngavoka, to complete the vernacular round, to deliver his address to the nation in Hindi, we have the leader of the National Federation Party, Professor Biman Prasad. Professor Prasad, you have 3 to 5 minutes to deliver your address in Hindi, sir. It's your turn.
भाइयों और बहनों, सबसे पहले मैं आप सभी को विशेष धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूं क्योंकि अभी तक हमारे कैंपेन में, अभियान में सभी तरह से जहां पर भी हम गए, हमारे उम्मीदवार गए, आप सभी लोगों ने हमें समर्थन दिया, हमारे सभा में आए, इसके लिए मैं आप सभी को विशेष धन्यवाद दे रहा हूं। ये चुनाव भाइयों और बहनों इस देश के लिए बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण है। अगर फिजी फेस्ट दोबारा सरकार में आती है तो आप ये उनका रिकॉर्ड देखिए। आप अच्छी तरह से जानते हैं कि यहाँ पर फिजी की आर्थिक स्थिति क्या है, कैसे इन लोगों ने पिछले 16 वर्षों में बिल्कुल उसको खत्म कर दिया है, कर्जा हमारे मुड़ पर लाद दिया है। आप सभी को पता है कि फिजी के इतिहास में इतना बुरा स्थिति हमारे हेल्थ सर्विसेज का नहीं था। लोग जानते हैं, अस्पताल जाते हैं, महंगाई का दर आसमान छूता जा रहा है, लोगों की आमदनी वहीं पर है। सरकार ये नहीं बता रही है कि वो कैसे इसको काबू में लाएंगे, क्या करेंगे। आप सभी जानते हैं कि जो यहाँ एग्रीकल्चर की हालत है, शुगर इंडस्ट्री की हालत है, आप सभी को पता है। आप अच्छी तरह से मुझे पिछले 8 वर्षों में पार्लियामेंट में देखे हैं। मैंने बहुत ही बारीकी से, बहुत ही हिम्मत के साथ जितने भी ये विषय हैं, चाहे स्वास्थ्य हो, चाहे गन्ने की खेती हो, चाहे रास्ते की बात हो, पानी की बात हो, महंगाई की बात हो, तनख्वाह की बात हो, हमारे जो मजदूर हैं उनकी बात हो, इन सभी विषयों पर मैंने बहुत ही बारीकी से पार्लियामेंट में और यूं कहिए सरकार के जो नीति है उसका खंडन करते आया हूं। भाइयों और बहनों, समय बहुत नहीं है। मैं जानता हूं कि आप चाहते हैं बदलाव। यही संकेत आप लोगों ने हमें सभी जगह पर दिया है और इसके लिए भी मैं आप लोगों को विशेष धन्यवाद दे रहा हूं। लेकिन एक बात आपको याद रखना है और मैं याद दिलाना चाहता हूं, क्योंकि जो ये गवर्नमेंट है, अय्याज सैयद खयूम और फ्रैंक बैनी मरामा, उनके जो चमचे हैं, उनके जो उम्मीदवार हैं, वो केवल इतना करते हैं, वो जाते हैं, हमारे लोगों को डरवाते हैं, धमकाते हैं, कहते हैं कि सोशल वेलफेयर चला जाएगा अगर रंबुका और विमान आ जाएंगे, कहते हैं बस फेयर चला जाएगा अगर रंबुका और विमान सरकार में आ जाते हैं, कहते हैं गोली गोली बिल आ जाएगा अगर ये दो आ जाते हैं। कई तरह के झूठ ये लोग हमारे लोगों में फैला रहे हैं। भाइयों और बहनों, ऐसा कुछ नहीं होगा। आप मुझ पर विश्वास करिए। ये जो संधि मैंने पीपल्स अलायंस और सिटी रंबुका के साथ बनाया है, इसको बहुत अच्छी तरह से सोचकर दूरदर्शित तरह से इसको हमने देखा है और हम जानते हैं कि अगर हम मिलकर सरकार बनाते हैं तो इन सब विषयों पर हम बारीकी से ध्यान देंगे और इसको सुधारेंगे। आपको मैं आश्वासन देता हूं कि कोई भी जो बेनिफिट अभी हमारे लोगों को मिल रहा है, चाहे स्कॉलरशिप हो, चाहे सोशल वेलफेयर हो, चाहे बस फेयर हो, फ्री एजुकेशन हो, ये सब भाइयों और बहनों बरकरार रहेगा। इसको कोई हटाएगा नहीं, इसको कम नहीं करेगा, बल्कि इसको बढ़ाया जाएगा। हम देखेंगे कहां पर कैसे इसको हम कर सकते हैं। महंगाई पर काबू पाने के लिए मैंने बहुत से नीतियों को पहले से ही आप लोगों के सामने रखा है और आप जानते हैं। तो ये चुनाव भाइयों और बहनों, आप अच्छी तरह से सोच समझकर, और अभी से जो ये ब्लैकआउट है, पिछले चुनाव में आप लोगों को अच्छी तरह से मालूम है क्या क्या अफवाह इन लोगों ने फैलाया था फेक न्यूज द्वारा। जैसे उदाहरण के लिए पिछले चुनाव में 2018 में एक झूठा फेक न्यूज क्रिएट किया जिसमें कहा गया कि दिवाली हॉलिडे चला जाएगा। ऐसा कुछ होने वाला नहीं और ना होगा। मैं आप लोगों से मांग कर रहा हूं, आप लोग मुझ पर विश्वास कीजिए, नेशनल फेडरेशन पार्टी पर विश्वास कीजिए और हमारी जो ये संधि है पीपल्स अलायंस के साथ, इस पर विश्वास करिए और हम एक ऐसे सरकार बनाएंगे जहां पर सभी की देखभाल होगी। सभी नीतियों को बनाने से पहले हमारी रजामंदी होना जरूरी है। दूसरी बात भाइयों और बहनों ये है कि हमने ये निर्धारित किया है कि पहले 100 दिन में हम क्या करेंगे, पहले 6 महीनों में हम क्या करेंगे। जैसे कि हमने ऐलान किया है कि हम जैसे सरकार में आएंगे, जो प्राइम मिनिस्टर है, जो मिनिस्टर हैं, उनकी तलब तनख्वाह उसको 1/3 से हम काटेंगे, क्योंकि हम जानते हैं कि बहुत पैसा बर्बाद हुआ और बाकी जो अन्य जगह पर पैसा बर्बाद हो रहा है उसको हम रोकेंगे और ऐसे जगह पर ले जाएंगे जैसे सोशल वेलफेयर, जो एग्रीकल्चर में किसानों की मदद है, वो सब हम करेंगे। शुगर इंडस्ट्री पर मैंने बहुत बारीकी से अपनी जो नीति है उसको किया है। 2014 से हमने कहा था $85 होना चाहिए। 2000 में मैंने कहा $100 टन होना चाहिए, तो 85 किया। ये सब विषय आप सभी जानते हैं। अंत में भाइयों और बहनों, एक बार फिर मैं आप सभी को विशेष धन्यवाद दे रहा हूं। आप हमारे साथ दिए अभी तक इस अभियान में हमारे उम्मीदवारों का, और मैं जानता हूं कि आप लोग बिल्कुल बदलाव के लिए तैयार हैं। और 14 तारीख दिसंबर के बाद इस देश में हमारा विश्वास है, और लोग यही हमें बता रहे हैं कि एक नया सरकार होगा, और वो होगा नेशनल फेडरेशन पार्टी और पीपल्स अलायंस का सरकार। आप सभी को मैं एक बार फिर धन्यवाद दे रहा हूं, और यही आशा करता हूं कि अच्छे दिन हमारे अब आने वाले हैं। धन्यवाद।
Dhanyawad, Professor Biman Prasad. Gentlemen, we've just completed both the address to the nation in the English language as well as in the vernacular. I must congratulate each one of you because you've brought home the message that is so vital for the peace, progress, and prosperity for our Fiji. Now, as I said, you've all heard each other speak. In case you have forgotten to mention something, if you have this opportunity to add to what you've already said. In the event that you've forgotten something, I'll give you that opportunity, a minute or two, to address anything that you've forgotten. Any takers? Mr. Chaudhary, is there anything you'd like to add to that, sir?
Shashi,
Yep. I'll give you all an opportunity. Mr. Chaudhary, would you like to add to anything else you've said, sir?
Thank you, Shashi. I think so much has been said already in the wake of the campaigns. And it's a question of who do you believe? I think people must judge this election by the record of the parties that are contesting it. And vote accordingly. If I had any more, I'd only be repeating myself.
Fair enough.
And I think all that has to be said has already been said. Once again, I wish to thank the people who have supported us and continue to support us. It has been difficult for us, as you know. We are out of the parliament for the last 8 years. We are rebuilding the party, and we are encouraged by the support that we have been given so far. So we're hoping for the best and hoping for the right decision by the people so that we have a new government on the 15th of December. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chaudhary. Professor Biman Prasad, you wanted to add to what you've said, sir. Please go ahead.
Just one more thing, Shashi, and that's the decision or announcement that both Mr. Rambuka and I have made, and I did mention that. I mentioned it last night at the rally in Rishikul, and that is that we will, in the first 100 days, declare 14th of May a public holiday to commemorate the arrival of the indentured laborers in Fiji as a Grimit Divas. And I just wanted to tell the people of Fiji that that will happen, including bringing back a public holiday to celebrate Ratu Selala Sukuna Day. Thank you, Shashi.
Thank you very much, Professor Biman Prasad. Mr. Ngalvoka, would you like to add to anything else that you've said in your address?
Yes, Shashi. Shashi, to our voters, to our supporters, we need to win the majority outright. We have been poorly done by the decrees that have become laws affecting our people. We have to have that majority in parliament, and at this point, and for this, we are not looking at any coalition. We will do it alone, and we need you to give us that majority to right the wrongs that are there in the laws of this country, and which we will change in parliament. Let us always remember what is fundamental to SODALPA SDL. We can achieve what we want legitimately by using the laws and by using parliament. That is the only way we can do it. And we urge you, as we've been urging you all this while, to give us your vote to secure that majority to right the wrongs against our people.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ngavoka. Well, today being the last day of campaign, I know that you're all pressed for time. Mr. Rambuka had some prior commitments, and I believe Mr. Narumbe also had to attend a church gathering. So I'd like to thank each one of you for taking time on this last day of campaigning to appear on Sashi Singh's Talking Point. On behalf of our viewers, I wish you all the very best in this election. You have all put your names forward for the sake of serving the people of our beloved Fiji. You've all made sacrifices for the country you love. May your political aspirations be realized by the good grace of God. Now, in closing, I have a personal agenda. Can I please have a commitment from each one of you? That is, that if you made it to Parliament, in whichever capacity, will you be willing to come back on SSTP? Mr. Chaudhry, would you be willing to do that, sir? Sorry, I didn't hear anything at all. Sorry, Mr. Chaudhry, we don't seem to hear you. Yes, Mr.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Yes, indeed. Yes, I do give that commitment that after the elections, we'd be prepared to come and participate in Sashi Singh's Talking Point.
Thank you very much indeed, sir. Mr. Ngavoka, do I have that commitment from you, sir?
You have been a major part of this process leading up to the election of a new government. And when we get into government, nothing changes, I see. We will always be a partner of yours in whatever manner, which you have done very well over the last couple of months. And that will not change, Shashi. Whether here in Fiji or in Australia, SODALPA will always be part of your programs, Shashi. Thank you.
Savinaka, Mr. Ngavoka. Well, gentlemen, before you go, as you know, at midnight tonight, Fiji time, Fiji goes into election blackout. That is for Fiji. And let me tell you, tomorrow, as you relax at home after a very long election campaign, you can watch SSTP tomorrow night. That is Monday, the 12th of December, as well as on Tuesday, the 13th of December, as we will be coming your way live by Facebook and YouTube with a countdown to the actual polling day. The program tomorrow will begin at 6 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Saving Time, which is 7 p.m. in Fiji. Tomorrow night, I will be joined by the publisher of the very popular blog site and Facebook page Grub Sheet, Mr. Graham Davis, as well as regular columnist in the Fiji Times, renowned economist and former member of Parliament in Fiji, Professor Wadan Narsi, and our very own Nikhil Singh. I hope, gentlemen, you can join us on SSTP tomorrow and on Tuesday in what should be a very, very engaging program. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Good luck in the elections. May your God go with you. Vinaka Sakavakalevu Dhanyavad, and thank you very much. Nisa Mode to you.
Thank you, Shashi.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you very much indeed to these leaders, Mr. Savanatha Narumbe from the Unity Fiji Party, Mr. Mahendra Chaudhry from the Fiji Labour Party, Mr. Bilyamin Ngavoka from SODALPA, Professor Biman Prasad from the National Federation Party, and, of course, Mr. Sitiveni Rambuka from the People's Alliance Party.
I think we should have a change in leadership so that we can see, so that we can feel the change is coming. The current situation, it is very hard.
Because it's very hard to survive these days. The cost of living is high, plus all these expenses is going up every day. Like food items, the prices are going up, it's not good.
It's very struggling here in Fiji. Hopefully, from my point of view, there is a changes. Hopefully the government can do something better.
here in Fiji, it's very poor country, not like overseas. We earning not like $15 an hour. We earning $3 an hour, so we need something to manage it. The fuel is very high now. Prices are high, the foods, they're very high. The poor people can't afford. We can see, we are here every day in town. We can see the people, how they struggling.
So I think one thing that we'd really like, I think Fiji definitely needs a change. They need a fresh pair of eyes, fresh pair of minds to figure this out for the people of Fiji, because we know that times are gonna get, before it gets better, it will get worse before it gets better. So we definitely need a fresh ideas to come in. I think the current government, though they've done a good job, but they've been in power for over 13 years. So I think it's time for them to focus on new government to come in, to bring in new ideas, bring in new legislations, and so forth, for the betterment of Fiji.
All right. Well, waiting in the wings to present his segment is our regular contributor, Nikhil Singh. Nikhil, good afternoon to you. Welcome to episode 48 of SSTP. How are you this afternoon? It's been a long wait for you, I know.
Good afternoon, Sashi. Yeah, well, I thoroughly enjoyed the program, listening to the respective leaders of the opposition parties. I think this was really a good program.
Appreciate that, Nikhil. Now, let us see what's been making the news headlines this week. We lead today with a message from Fiji's military commander, Major General Chonik Kaloniwai, to his troops last week on respecting the outcome of Wednesday's general elections. We've covered some of that in our leader's address today. The commander said his speech was one of the most important speeches he had to share, as it entailed the future of the country. Please tell us briefly what the commander added to that.
Thank you, Sashi. I was aware that you would be covering some of these topics with the leaders today, so I've kept it brief, given it's been a long program. The Fiji Times reported that Major General Kaloniwai ordered his men to honor the democratic processes by respecting the outcome of the votes in the 2002 general elections. Kaloniwai called on every soldier in the country and abroad to, I quote, keep in perspective our constitutional mandate that regardless of the outcome, democracy is alive and God is still our sovereign. Sashi?
Thank you very much. And as we inch closer to the polling day, and I discussed this with the leader of the SODELPA party, SODELPA lodged a complaint against the People's Alliance and asked the Fijian Elections Office to deregister the Sitiveni Rabuka-led party. What has happened, and do we have a response from the Elections Office, Nikhil?
So this was reported in the local media again. SODELPA lodged a complaint against the People's Alliance regarding the compliance with the Electoral Act. SODELPA says the Electoral Act requires all political parties and persons making promises in a campaign a financial undertaking. The party says they are all required by law to explain how they're going to raise money for such activities, promises they make, and how the money will be distributed. SODELPA, in their letter of complaint, has asked the Fijian Elections Office to actually deregister People's Alliance. People's Alliance leader Sitiveni Rabuka says they have assessed the complaint and see no merit in it, and their team has combed it with a fine-tooth comb and will respond to the Supervisor of Elections within the given time frame. The Supervisor of Elections, Mohammed Sanim, in response to the deregistration of the People's Alliance, has told FBC News that no party will be deregistered. He said the party cannot be deregistered, but only referred to the Fiji Independent Commission Against Corruption. Salim is waiting for a response from People's Alliance before we see what happens next. Sashi?
Now, in another turn of events, which some opposition leaders have described as persecution of opposition candidates, the deputy party leaders of People's Alliance, Linda Tambuya and Dan Lobendown, have been charged by FICAC. The matter is now before the court, but please tell us, what have they been charged with, and what has the reaction been from the People's Alliance leader?
So actually, this has caught the attention of international media. Radio New Zealand Pacific has reported that Tambuya and Lobendon appeared in court on Tuesday last week after being questioned by FICEC. It is alleged that Tambuya tried to gain or influence votes for the December 14 election by soliciting $1,000 to the Rock the Vote volleyball tournament in May this year. On the alternative count of breach of election campaign rule, it is alleged that she also induced the participant to vote for Lobendon. Lobendon is alleged to have offered $1,000 prize money to the tournament during the campaign period to gain or influence votes. On the alternative count, he allegedly offered a monetary inducement to the participants. Now, People's Alliance leader Siti Rambuka has labelled the arrests as an attempt to derail the election campaign and muzzle candidates. Rambuka said the arrestees, and I quote, outrageous to democratic good governance principles and a ridiculous assault on our individual constitutional rights to take part in political campaign activities. He said after a month and a half delay on the eve of the election for FICEC to move on the Fiji First complaint is blatant and a deliberate interference in the country's electoral process, Sashi.
And talking of Mr. Rambuka, the former Prime Minister last week offered a solution to Fiji's problems. What did he come up with? What has he said?
Sashi, I picked this because I think a lot of people are talking about the current issues and problems. So here we have a solution as given by Mr. Rambuka, and I've taken this from the Fiji Times. Siti Rambuka told party supporters at a rally in Mombasa last week that the solution to Fiji's problems is to vote out the Fiji First government. He told supporters, and I quote, "We want you to be partners with us in the remaking of Fiji, and we will consult with you and seek your ideas in the normal way of democracy. I tell you right now, you, the people, are the change. We, the candidates, are the change, and together we are unstoppable," Sashi.
And closer to home, Nikhil, the federal Labour government has moved to provide relief to Australians facing growing energy bills after successfully negotiating with the states and territories. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese made a $1.5 billion announcement on Friday. What does this bill relief look like, and when does it come into effect?
Sashi, the Sydney Morning Herald reported that the federal government will spend $1.5 billion on payments to reduce household and small business energy bills from April next year under a deal with the states to cap the price of coal and gas and help vulnerable customers. The financial assistance will flow through the states to help Australians on income support and other federal social services programs, while the size of the small businesses that can qualify is yet to be decided. The federal cash will be used to reduce bills and will not be paid directly to households, but the exact mechanism will be determined by the federal and state treasuries in time to deliver the help early next year, Shashi.
Well, that's a very timely thing. Let me tell you, my electricity bill has gone up just over 35 odd percent, and it really, really hurts. Well, Nikhil, thank you very much for your segment. Now, by the way, are you excited about the additional programs that you and I will host tomorrow and on Tuesday night?
I cannot wait, Sashi. I think these leaders that you've interviewed, even today, have said the platform that they have been given, which is the SSTP, is a very important platform. They will have a blackout in Fiji, and I think this platform will continue to give that information that is needed in Fiji and around the globe. I'm certainly very excited to be part of that tomorrow and Tuesday, Sashi.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Nikhil, because I too am looking forward to that, and I appreciate you'll be part of that panel. Let me just remind our viewers that tomorrow we will be joined by award-winning journalist and blogger extraordinaire, the author and presenter of Grub Sheet, Mr. Graham Davis, together with renowned The Fiji Times columnist, former Member of Parliament, and former University of the South Pacific Professor of Economics, Professor Wadan Narsi, and of course, yourself, our very own Nikhil Singh, will be joining in. Tomorrow, our program begins at 6 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Saving Time, which is 7 p.m. in Fiji and 8 p.m. in New Zealand. So I certainly hope to see you, Nikhil. Have a wonderful afternoon. Have a great day. And we'll catch up tomorrow, and we'll talk about Tuesday in tomorrow's program.
Thank you, Sashi.
Take care now. Cheers. SSTP, we ask the questions that Fijians all over the world want answers to. And that's all for episode 48. And let me just say, I must thank each and every one of you. I must thank you because without you, there's no program. And particularly those who've taken time out to send your emojis, your comments. I'll try to get to your comments sometime tonight or tomorrow. And those of you who have sent stars, Nina Moreno, thank you for your stars. Again, Vinaka Vakalevu, thank you for that. And I certainly appreciate your presence, all of you, on SSTP. You are, as I say, what makes this platform a huge success. So just to remind you, don't forget, we'll be back tomorrow, Monday, the 12th of December. The program will start at 6 p.m. Sydney time, 7 p.m. Fiji time, 8 p.m. New Zealand time, and at 11 p.m. In Los Angeles, and that's going to be on a Sunday night. Then on Tuesday, the 13th of December, Nikhil Singh and I will be back to provide a final rundown on the countdown to the elections. Tuesday's program will also be at the same times. So until tomorrow, before I leave you with this quote from Susie Kassam. A long one, but worth the wait. And Susie Kassam says, pick a leader who will keep jobs in your country by offering companies incentives to hire only within their borders, not one who allows corporations to outsource jobs for cheap labor when there is a national employment crisis. Choose a leader who will invest in building bridges, not walls, books, not weapons, morality, not corruption, intellectualism and wisdom, not ignorance, stability, not fear and terror, peace, not chaos, love, not hate, convergence, not segregation, tolerance, not discrimination, fairness, not hypocrisy, substance, not superficiality, character, not immaturity, transparency, not secrecy, justice, not lawlessness, environmental improvement and preservation, not destruction, truth and not lies. That quote from Susie Kassam. And if you'd like to hear that again, you can go and listen to SSTP after I've signed off. That program will remain there as well. So it's been an epic program where we've had our 5 leaders deliver their address to the nation today. I certainly hope you've had an enjoyable time listening to our 5 leaders. Thank you very much. And as I go, Fiji, remember, your vote has power. Exercise your right to vote. You must make the effort of getting up on Wednesday, going to your designated polling station, exercising that vote. It is ever so crucial. If people do not vote in large numbers, then you are only playing foul of the system. Take your umbrellas if it's going to be a hot day, which it is going to be in Fiji. Take your umbrellas if it's going to rain. Take your bottle of water. Discuss with your family members how the voting will go. I heard in one of the rallies last night that after voting, when families get back together and they sit and they ask, who did you vote for? And that's where the argument starts, where they say, well, we should have voted for so-and-so. So whatever discussions you need to do, make sure that happens today, tomorrow, or Tuesday. So when you go to vote on Wednesday, as a family, you are united. you know exactly where your vote is going to go. To all people in Fiji, we wish you the very best. And tomorrow at 6 p.m. Sydney time, at 7 p.m. Fiji time, looking forward to seeing you. So that's it for episode 48 of Sashi Singh's Talking Point. Tomorrow it is episode 49. Till tomorrow evening, I am Sashi Singh, bidding you all goodbye, namaste, and ni samode. Goodbye, world.